A lot of times when we hear that phrase, just be yourself, it's people who are trying to keep us in our place, right? Put us back where they think we belong. But there's actually another layer that we need to consider. You see, a lot of these guys these days will pretend. They'll fake it till they make it. They'll put on a new persona in order to get the girls or to fit in with the group. But the problem is, even if we get it right, even if we win, we lose. Let me explain why. There's a great book, No More Mr. Nice Guy, that talks about the idea of covert contracts. Okay, this is the idea that I'm going to do X for you. I'm going to like give you flowers or clean the house or whatever it happens to be, and as in return, you're going to give me Y. You're going to love me or give me sex or whatever it happens to be, right? This idea that I'm going to buy something from you by giving you something in return up front. Of course, we don't actually verbalize that deal. We don't actually make it explicit. We don't actually say, I'm going to do this and you have to do this in return. We just assume that if we do X, they're going to give us Y in return. Now, after a while, we tend to stop playing the nice guy because being the nice guy never actually gets us what we want. We do X, we give, and we never actually get anything in return. But it's not just limited to playing the nice guy. There's a larger dynamic at play. There's this entire idea of having to pretend to be somebody else, to be somebody different, to adopt a new persona or personality in order to get what we want and need. You see, being the nice guy doesn't actually get us laid. But jerks get laid. The bad boys get laid. So we throw on that bad boy persona. We start acting like more of a jerk. We stop acting like the nice guy, and maybe we get attention. Maybe we even get laid for once. But the problem is that fundamentally you haven't actually changed anything. You're still that same old nice guy. You're just pretending to be a bad boy. And not only that, you're still pretending to be somebody else in order to get what you want. Maybe you start to hit the gym. You start to add on all that muscle. You go see a styling consultant. You up your style. You get new suits, right? Everything's all fitted and fly. You're working yourself 17 side hustles and have 16 Gumroad courses you're selling. You're on Hustler University and all this other stuff in order to make the millions of dollars so that you can buy that Lambo and that yacht. It gets all the girls all nice and creamy. But of course, the problem is you're not actually doing any of that for you. You're doing it for them. All this hard work, all this effort, all this self-improvement isn't actually intended for you. You're still trying to purchase the things that you want by being what you believe other people want you to be. And so we're sitting there having done all this work. We finally got the girls, got the Lambo, got the yachts, and we're still not happy. And there's actually a really simple reason for this. You see, when you pretend to be what other people want you to be, even if you get it right, even if you read their minds, even if you freaking nail it, what they give you in return is what they believe the person you're pretending to be wants and needs, not what you want and need. And the reality is there's no way they could even know what that is. There's no way they could even understand what it is you really want and need because you're hiding yourself. You're not actually showing the world who you really are, your true authentic self. No, you're pretending to be someone else. So all they're ever going to know is who that person is that you're pretending to be. And they're going to guess at what that person wants and needs. And they'll give you that in return for all that hard work you've done for everyone else except for yourself. And of course, the worst part is that no matter how hard you try, you can never put that mask on, keep it on forever. Over time, in big or small ways, who you really are is going to shine through. You can actually see this a lot in the like old school pickup artist types, right? Like Mystery and those guys. They create this exciting persona, right? Living this amazing life, popping bottles at the club, all that sort of thing. And as a result, they get to have the attention, the affection, the devotion of the most amazing, most beautiful one they've ever met. And then they go right back to being their old selves. Needy. Wanting. They let the exciting persona slip because you just can't keep it up forever. And then that woman leaves and they're broken again because unfortunately it was always just a persona. It was just an act. They'd never actually done any of the hard work on the inside to change who they really were. They hadn't actually dealt with any of their trauma or any of their baggage. No, what they've done is just learned how to act really, really well. How to play that role really, really well. And that's actually one of the secrets. One of the things that's most important about this. See, we create these personas, we put on these masks because deep down inside, there's part of us that believes like we can't actually get what we want as who we are. That there's something wrong with us. Maybe we're something broken, perhaps. That who we are is just not good enough. We just don't measure up in some way. And so if we show the world who we are, we're going to get rejected. We're going to get turned down. We won't have the things we want and need. Nobody will give it to us. So we have to pretend to be somebody else. We have to create these new personas. We have to put on these masks because that's the only way that we're going to get what we want. Maybe when you were growing up, you were just different. You just didn't quite fit in. No matter how hard you tried, just couldn't fit in. So you pretended to be like everyone else in order to make friends or to have some kind of way to be like everyone else, right? In order to actually have those friendships and get what you needed. Maybe you grew up in a religious home and who you were, the ideas that you had, what you thought, what you felt, just wasn't acceptable in that faith. You know, that for some reason who you are was bad and wrong in that faith. What you wanted was somehow bad and wrong. Even if it's perfectly normal, even if it's perfectly human from a scientific perspective or an outside perspective, in that faith it just wasn't acceptable. So you pretend. You pretend to be the good boy. You pretend to be the faithful one. You try and fit in. Try and do what everybody else wants you to be so that you don't get punished, perhaps. You hide from the world. You hide from the world in order to escape that judgment. You spend your entire life just trying to figure out who everybody else wants you to be. Now, if you get really good at pretending to be what everybody else wants you to be, well, after a while, you kind of become a bit of a social chameleon, right? You're different people to different groups. You show this side to this people. You show that side to the other people. You put on different masks to be in different groups, and then you spend a long time trying to figure out, oh, who the hell am I really? You kind of lose sight of who you even really are. And maybe you get stressed. Maybe you get worried that person A from group A is going to run into person B from group B, and they're going to figure out that you're not the same person in both places. And you're pretending to be two different people. And wouldn't that be a shame? Because then everything can come tumbling down. And maybe just for some reason, you've just got this deep sense that who you are is not good enough, that you're inadequate, that you're just not going to measure up, right? And so no matter what it really is, whether it's a faith-based thing, maybe just being different, feeling like you're not good enough, you end up having to hide who you are. Because if people see the real you, people actually get to know you, they're going to see that part of you that's not good enough, that's broken, that's unacceptable in some way, not allowed to show the world who you are. And if you're not allowed to show the world who you are, well, then nobody's ever going to be able to actually give you what you want and need in the world. You're always going to have to pretend, always going to have to try and buy that affection, that love, those things you want and need in the world by pretending to be what everybody else wants you to be. Never actually allowed to be yourself. So if you're in that situation, where you're feeling like you're not good enough, where you always have to pretend to be what everybody else wants you to be, you always find yourself giving more and more and more relationships, not getting what you want in return, well, then you're kind of stuck, aren't you? You're in a situation where you're never going to get what you want and need. Never going to be able to show the world who you are, because that's really the only way that you can get what you want and need. If you don't show the world who you are, they can never know what it is you want in return. They can never really know what it is that's going to make you happy. They can't even give it to you because they don't even know what that is. And the only way to really fix that is to do that deep work inside. Because the reality is that feeling like you're not good enough, that feeling like you just don't measure up, that there's something wrong with you, that feeling like you're just different so you'll never fit in, that feeling like you always have to pretend, those are all just beliefs. They're just stories your unconscious mind is telling itself about who you are and how the world works. It's a solution to a problem, really. And so if you want to live a different life, if you want to move through the world in a different way, you got to go downstairs, deep inside your unconscious mind, figure out why that story is there, and do the work to change your story, to find a new solution, to create a new way of being, a new way of moving through the world. Now, the good news is that after you've done that work, once you create a new story, once you understand that there's really nothing wrong with you, that you can, in fact, measure up, well, then you can move through the world in a different way. There's no need to hide anymore. You can show the world who you are. You get to showcase all those things about yourself that make you amazing, all those things about yourself that are unique, that people kind of really want to see in the world. There's no need to hide. And when there's no need to hide, when you can show the world who you are, then you can actually get what you want and need in the world. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that if you're a 300-pound basement-dwelling, Cheeto dust-covered League of Legends scrub, that you're going to get laid just because you feel better about yourself. You do actually still have to do the work to make yourself the best version of who you want to be and who you can be. But doing that deep work inside so that you no longer feel like you're not good enough, you no longer feel like you're broken, you no longer feel like being different is such a bad thing. Doing that hard work so that you can show the world who you are means that you actually get to leverage all those talents and skills and knowledge. It means you actually get to showcase the amazing man that you are. It means you actually get to connect authentically as who you actually are. There will be no need to pretend ever again. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said that imitation is suicide, and I think he's got the right of it. You spend your entire life pretending to be what everybody else wants you to be if you're never allowed to be you. It's not a good life to live. Constantly miserable, never happy, never really getting what you want and need. Now, the key to success, of course, the key to your freedom is to set your mind free, to go do that deep work that you need to do, to figure out the story your mind is telling itself about who you are, about how the world works. That makes pretending it all the time being the best way to move through the world, be the best thing it can do for you. And once you set yourself free, once you're able to actually show the world who you are, then you can get what you want and need. If you want some help doing that, book a call below. I'm always around, ready, willing, and able to help you do that deep work, ready, willing, and able to help you figure out what it is that's holding you back so that you can actually start living the life that you want to live. Let's get started.